hear me, Dr. Johnson?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How are you?
Nervous as hell.
It's all right.
Yeah, but let's get this started. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is We-On-Loc Nation. The world is yours. We have up here the one and only Dr. Umar Johnson. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, my brother. Peace and Pan-Africanism to you and your viewers. Glad to be with you.
I just want to say this before we start. I do want to apologize to you for when the last time you were here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I believe it was last June or July. A friend of ours, Tiffany Griff. I don't know if you know her or not. Last time you was here, shook your hand, you signed the books, hung out with some friends of ours. We left. She called me and you invited me to a dinner, and I should have gotten my butt up and came to that dinner. And I just want to apologize to you for that.
No problem. It'll be other opportunities. No problem about that, good brother.
All right. Okay, let's get this thing started. Want to introduce the audience who you are?
Sure. Dr. Umar Tunde, Doctor of Clinical Psychology, Certified School Psychologist, Certified School Principal, holder of 6 degrees, blood relative to the great Frederick Douglass and Bishop Wayman of the AME Church, former Minister of Education for the Garvey Movement, author of Psychoacademic Holocaust, the Special Education and ADHD Wars Against Black Boys, also author of Black Parent Advocate, The Art of Warfare Dealing with America's Public and Charter Schools, founder of the National Independent Black Parent Association, National Movement to Save Black Boys, Bishop Turner National Independent Black Political Movement, as well as Team Pan-African, aka the International Movement for the Independence and Protection of African People, founder and CEO of the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, and probably, arguably, or not so arguably, the most influential, most requested, and most relevant scholar in the world right now when it comes to Black consciousness.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And what it inspired you to want to get up in the morning and do this every single day?
I decided that I wanted to be a psychologist in the 3rd grade.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what led to that. I think most of it had to do with the fact I didn't have an older brother and I wanted one. So I decided I would be the big brother to any future African children who needed someone to speak to and did not have access to one. So I think that was the reason I decided psychology. You know, I was fairly young at the time, 7 or 8 years old when I came to that conclusion, which is somewhat impressive because I don't know how I learned what a psychologist was, but somehow I did know. And I can still remember being in the 3rd grade saying to myself and others that I was going to be a psychologist. 4th and 5th grade, we had a Black history class at Meade Elementary School in North Central Philadelphia. That was my introduction to Black consciousness. There was also a Black History Month oratorical speaking contest in the 4th and 5th grade. So I entered that, won first place both times. And that was my introduction into public speaking. And then, of course, in the 6th grade, I believe it was, I went to my first family reunion in Baltimore, Maryland, when I learned I was related to arguably the greatest leader in American history, the great Frederick Douglass. And so I guess it's safe to say that by the time I left elementary school, I knew how the rest of my life would be spent. So for me, it came early. Unlike many other folks in the conscious community, they come as a result of coming out of prison, and there's nothing wrong with that. Many come to consciousness as a result of being disinvited from the table of white supremacy. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people come to consciousness because they get disenchanted with Islam or Christianity, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, my journey into Black consciousness was not a reactionary one. It did not come as a result of something having been done to me by the white power structure. For me, it was organic. I have been into Black consciousness since I was a 9-year-old in the 4th grade, and nothing has strayed me or influenced me to leave the path.
I remember when I first saw you when I was, I believe it was, I've been an advocate of yours for the past 20 years since I saw you online at Black and Nobel
Mm.
with others with the Professor Griff and all those other folks. You know, shouts out to Professor Griff. Um, with that being said, it's something that's concerning me. Um, First of all, this fake gender war that's going on between black women and black men and black women. Um, some some men feel that women are the face of something that we will call a destruction of the black community. Some would other call that women are very masculine, talk this and that and all this other things, and that they should know their place. I say that a woman has a place amongst black people, and we need them now more than ever before. What say you to this gender war that keeps happening online as well as offline?
I would not be surprised if it has some FBI roots in it. Um,
Mm,
Most of our civil wars that we have internally within the Black community are instigated by the power structure at some level. And I would not be surprised if some of these voices that are constantly stirring the pot of conflict and turmoil between Black men and Black women, I would not be surprised to find out that some of them are subsidized by the power structure. With that being said, I don't like the dichotomous nature of this tug of war that's going on between masculine and feminine energies in the Black community that posits one side has to be more wrong than the other. I reject that entire conversation. I don't think Black women are more wrong than Black men. I don't think Black men are more at fault than Black women. I think we must accept equal accountability for the failure of the Black family, and as a consequence of that, the failure of the Black community. I can name a million things Black men are doing wrong. I can name a million things Black women are doing wrong. I could also look to our eldership in the Black community, those who are 65 years and older. We can also look at the role they play in this conflict between Black men and Black women. We could also look at the stakeholder groups in the Black community, notably the politicians, the preachers, the community-based organizations, and Black businesses, as well as Black community, well, I said community-based organizations and Black businesses. All of them have a role to play in this Black male-female relationship tragedy, as I'm going to call it, because this is tragic. And the reason why I think it's so tragic, my brother, is we are openly airing negative thoughts and beliefs about the opposite gender within our own community. Black men should be ashamed of ourselves for openly repudiating Black women on the internet for all men of every community to watch. That is insulting. That is not masculine behavior. That is not masculine behavior to tell the world you don't want your woman, to tell the world you will not defend your woman, to tell the world that your woman has no value. Who does that? And some of these men who are doing this have daughters of their own. So
thank
you're
you.
telling me you're conditioning young Black boys to disrespect and devalue your own daughter. We have to stop it. This is not the way masculine men should behave. And on the flip side, women have to be held accountable as well. You know, you got women out there advocating the abortion of any Black male fetus. That is insane. That is eugenics on a whole nother level. You have Black women out there who are advocating that Black women never look at another Black man. Find anything else other than a black man to cohabitate with and make children with. This is absolutely ridiculous. And what makes it so ridiculous, and I'll be quiet for your next statement and question, but what makes it so ridiculous is nobody wants either one of us. Let us be clear. The white female may use you for your melanin.
Thank
She
you.
may use you for your income, but she don't care about you either. You are a means to an end. Same thing with the black woman. The white man might use you for your melanin. He might use you for your minority double status that he can exploit to get his company off the ground. Okay. But beyond being used by white folks, excuse me for that. Let me take this earpiece off. Beyond, you can still hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Beyond being used by white folks, we have no value for them. We were brought here as an asset, and we are still only valued as far as we can serve as an asset. LeBron James is an asset. Lamar Jackson is an asset. Beyonce is an asset. Tyler Perry is an asset. And once the asset loses its value, they do away with you. You end up like Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, Prince, Sam Cooke, Donnie Hathaway, and the list goes on and on and on. We are only assets to white folk. So I don't know why black men nor black women are running around acting like every other race values you. Because if they valued you, they would be doing something special for black women or something special for black men. Brittany Griner wouldn't still be in Russia, okay? Black men would not be the most incarcerated population in the world. So we need to get over this thing about let me make the black man looks worse than what he is because I know there's another man coming for me. Or let me make the black woman look worse than what she is because I know there's another woman coming for you. We are living in an illusion. Nobody cares about black people. And guess what? Nobody cares about the gender war between black men and black women. They want us all gone. And if we are going to voluntarily participate in our own extermination vis-a-vis the black male-female emotional civil war that's going on, then we deserve to be exterminated.
So it's safe to say, Dr. Umar, that if you go overseas and say try to find somebody that will be with you because you're masculine, you have no rights overseas, correct?
Now, when you say you have no rights overseas, what do you mean?
What I mean is these quote unquote, well, you would call them Negroes, I would call them cowards. These so-called cowards that feel that they don't have a black woman's attention. So what they do is they pack up their things and they go overseas, and they end up saying that we feel more respected over internationally than we knew here in the United States.
But are they going internationally to be with another black woman? In other words, are they going to Africa? Are they going to the Caribbean? Are they going to Brazil? Are they going to Australia? Or are they going to get a snow bunny from Spain or a snow bunny from France or something? Like, what type of woman are they going to get internationally?
Anyone that will give them the type of respect that they deserve, that they
well, if she belongs to the race, if she belongs to the race, if she belongs to the African family, that's not a contradiction. You know, I'm a Pan-Africanist, so I could care less whether she's Jamaican African, whether she's Canadian African, whether she's Nigerian African, Surinamese African. It doesn't make a difference to me where she's from or where he's from, but they better be a member of the African family.
Ooh wee. Can this generation be saved? Please, just
which generation we talking about?
I mean, I'm not familiar.
Those under 30 can be saved if we get serious quick and get serious now. We could still save those under 30. Those between 30 and 50, we got to go fishing for the ones who are psychologically salvageable. And for those over 50, again, we got to go fishing for the ones who are psychologically salvageable. But the older they get, the less likely they will be saved. The Black Revolution is not a utopia. Everybody's not going. Some of us are more committed to the maintenance of white supremacy than the survival of African people. You just saw what Kanye West and Candace Owens did with the White Lives Matter shirt. You see, so,
Mm.
you know, you have your Clarence Thomases, you have your Kamala Harrises, you have your Barack Obamas, you have your Condoleezza Rices, you have your Judge Clarence Thomases, and those are only just a few. You have everyday Negroes in the Black community who are committed to the salvation of white supremacy instead of the liberation of African people. So this is not a utopia. Of the 50 million Africans in this country, and yes, I'm including African immigrants as well, because the last time I checked, they have the same DNA that I have. But of the 50 million Africans in this country, I would say maybe 10 million of us are sincerely committed to the African liberation struggle. And some people would say, why is your estimate so low? And I'll say real simply, we are not doing anything to create an independent reality for African people in this country. I am the only notable voice in the conscious community that's building a relevant institution. And I want to underline the word relevant, because it's not just any institution, it's a relevant institution. And what are the relevant institutions? Schools, banks, hospitals, supermarkets, distribution, and manufacturing. Those are the key institutions of any future Black Wall Street. I'm building one. You can't name another person under the age of 50 years old in the conscious community who is independently building a Black institution, and that is sad.
Why do you think? Why do you think, sir, that we cannot follow suit?
It's not that we can't. Here's the thing about an institution, and I'm going through it every day with FDMG. It's a lot of time you have to sacrifice. It's a lot of energy you have to sacrifice.
Money.
It's a lot of money you have to sacrifice. And it's a lot of peace of mind that you have to sacrifice. The problem, my brother, is Black people are allergic to the word sacrifice. We don't even want to talk about responsibility. We don't even want to talk about accountability. So if you can't deal with responsibility, and if you can't deal with accountability, you damn sure can't deal with sacrifice. You have to sacrifice to build institutions, which is why all this talk we're having about Black Wall Street is hypocritical, because everybody's celebrating Black Wall Street, Black Wall Street, Black Wall Street. Why don't we have a single Black Wall Street in Black America? 50 million Africans, 50 states, that's 1 million Africans per state on average. And as you know, many states have more than 1 million Africans, particularly California, Michigan, Illinois, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Texas, Florida, and there's a few others. Why can't we identify a single community where we own the bank, the school, the hospital, and the supermarket? Not one. Not a single place in Black America. 400 plus years later. And the plus is for those Africans who were here before Columbus. 400 plus years later, and we don't have a single Black community we can call our own. And then we try to scapegoat that by saying, well, we need reparations before we could do anything for ourselves. That's absolutely ridiculous. Reparations is a Pan-African initiative. We gave birth to it. The first fathers and mothers of the reparation struggle were Pan-Africanists. And reparations is not an excuse to sit still and do nothing until the government gives you a handout. We are a $2 trillion economy. And with $2 trillion, there's so much more we could be doing for ourselves, but we're choosing not to do it. How can you give Air Jordan $2 billion a year? And when we say, let's open up some schools, you say we need reparations first. How can you give the Korean-controlled hair care market $30 billion a year? And when we say we need hospitals, you say we got to wait for reparations. How can we spend $800 million a year on chicken, turkey, beef, and pork? And when we say we need some independent grassroots banks, you say we got to wait for reparations. If we don't have to wait for reparations for McDonald's, if we don't have to wait for reparations for Louis bags and Gucci bags and Mercedes-Benz and fake hair and Air Jordans and Timberlands, why the hell we got to wait for reparations to build institutions? It's because Negroes are still infected with the slave consciousness that says use your victuals on what you want and beg your master for what you need.
And you know this affects the children too, right?
Well, as I said last night when I was speaking at the Everlasting Life Cafe in Capitol Heights, Maryland, if the parents are coons, so the child will be also.
Oh man.
And this is one of the reasons in the final analysis we need residential academies. I attended a residential high school, Scotland School for Veterans Children in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. It was a JROTC school, but I saw the benefit of being able to engineer and control the entire atmosphere of a child. And that's why in the final analysis, FDMG, not just the one in Wilmington, but the entire FDMG movement, which we hope to have schools in every country and in every community of our race, that's the long-term goal. Before I leave this planet, I want to be the first superintendent of a truly independent African-centered global school district. But that's why in the final analysis, I want FDMG to be a residential system. We want to have residential schools. We need the children to be with us 24 hours a day, because most of what your child learns, they learn outside of school hours.
Mm-mm-mm. And speaking of children, my I have a daughter and a son, and they go to a private school, and most of what they learn, it's most of it's through books, but it's also through technology, computers
Uh-huh.
and such. Do you think technology is helping or hindering our people?
Every weapon or tool is neutral.
Hmm.
It's the application of that weapon or tool that decides if it's positive or negative. That goes for the computer, that goes for the laptop, that goes for social media, that goes for the cell phone, that goes for the gun, the knife, the atom bomb, the helicopter. Everything is neutral. It's the consciousness that uses it that determines whether it's positive or not. You can use a gun to save a life. You can use a gun
As
to
well
take
to
a
take a
life.
life.
So when we're talking about media, I believe that we are addicting our children to media and electronics. I think most public schools, private schools, parochial schools, independent schools, and home schools are also unintentionally addicting this entire generation of African children to electronics and internet. Too much instruction involves the cell phone. Too much instruction involves the tablet. Too much research involves Google. We are making our children electronic dependent. And I don't think that's going to fare well for African people over the long term. And while we are addicting an entire generation of African children to cell phones and internet, at the same time, we are hypocritically getting them evaluated for ADHD. So you hooked them on the laptop, you hooked them on the computer, your fault as the adult and the school. And now, because they can't function without the laptop and the computer, can't sit still without the laptop and the computer, you're now going to turn around and give them an ADHD diagnosis and hook them on drugs. So the average black kid boy is hooked on electronics and hooked on Adderall, hooked on Ritalin, hooked on Metadate, hooked on Concerta. It's a contradiction. Why am I hooked on computers and hooked on drugs? If
While getting a paycheck.
Absolutely. If the computer is a problem, get rid of the computer. But we don't want to get rid of the computer. We rather put them on the ADHD medication. Why? Because the computer is the greatest babysitter ever invented. TikTok is the greatest babysitter ever invented. Facebook and Twitter are the greatest babysitters ever invented. So many single parents are praising social media, because had it not been for social media, they would be spending $1,000 a week on the babysitter. And now all they got to do is put their child in front of the TV, laptop, cell phone, or tablet.
One more thing about our African females, especially here in America. Do you believe that they can raise intelligent? I'm talking about single mothers now. Do you think they can raise or have the ability to raise good, young, strong black boys?
I believe single mothers can raise intelligent, strong males. I believe they can raise a productive, honest, hardworking, respectful black male. But to become a man, in my opinion, requires validation and authorization from someone who is already a man. And that is why in our culture, we have rites of passage when the men baptize the boys into their manhood, where the women baptize the girls into their womanhood. So to ask the question, which is a good one, to ask the question, can a woman make a man by herself? The answer is absolutely no. You know why? Because according to African culture, the science of African culture, not even a father can make a man by himself. If the father can't make a man by himself, the mother definitely can't make a man by herself. And why is that? The rites of passage program requires who? The village. All the men in the village are necessary to make a man, not just the father. It takes all the men in the village to make a man, and it takes all the women in the village to make a girl. So no individual parent can make a man or a woman. It takes a village. And see, we have to understand that the solutions for African people rest in the village. The village is the answer to every problem we have. The issue is we do not function as a village. We function as a collective set of selfish, individualistic, Europeanized.
Well, some will say, Dr. Johnson, that racism don't exist anymore because you get opportunities everywhere. You get a job, you get a nice car, you get, a dog and a painted fence, a white picket fence. Racism don't exist anymore. What say you?
And guess what? That's what Vice President Kamala Harris said. Vice President Kamala Harris got on global television, not national, and told the world America is not racist. Although America has the highest mass incarceration rate in the world, most of whom are black men, although America has some of the lowest educational outcomes for black children when compared to the other 30 most developed nations in the world, although American African women have the highest infant mortality rate in the modern world, she had a nerve to say America is not racist. And guess what? If you are a Negropean who has managed to ink out an existence under the white power structure, as Kamala has done, Judge Ketanji has done, Clarence Thomas has done, a lot of these middle-class Negroes have done, and if you then want to engage in self-deception, aka historical amnesia, because you don't have no loyalty to your race, then so be it. But here's what I know about the white power structure. Bill Cosby found this out. Will Smith found this out. Oprah Winfrey found this out. The white power structure does not like black people thinking they have been accepted by white folks. They do not like it. So all these Negroes who thinking that if I just act like there's no racism, white people are going to leave me alone, you're absolutely wrong. They're never going to leave you alone. Genocide is the extermination of an entire people. It's not an extermination of the poor blacks. It's not an extermination of the ghetto blacks. It's not an extermination of the ex-offenders. It's not an extermination of single mothers. It is an extermination of all African people. So once they get finished using you to get rid of the others, they got to get rid of you too. Genocide is complete removal of that genetic variant within the human family. Every African must go under white supremacy. So these Negroes who keep trying to save themselves by acting like racism don't exist, they absolutely don't understand racism, because I don't care how loyal you have been to the white power structure, when you are no longer an asset, you are just as expendable as the rest of us.
So goes Africa, so goes you. I remember.
Absolutely.
I remember you telling me that.
Goes Africa, goes us. In fact, I would say this. Another reason why we trail the rest of the world and we trail every other ethnicity in America, my brother, is due to the fact that we're the only people. We are the only people that does not invest in their native homeland on a consistent basis. Mexicans are always sending money to Mexico. Chinese are always sending money back to China. European Jews are always subsidizing Israel. The Arab Americans are always subsidizing the Arab states. We are the only non-white people in America who do not collectively and consistently invest in their natural, native, ancestral homeland. And that's why we are in the condition that we are in. Africa cannot help you until you help Africa. And why do we need to help Africa? Because you cannot exist in this world without a strong nation to look out for your best interests. Why aren't Chinese lynched in America? Why aren't East Indians lynched in America? Why aren't Mexicans lynched in America? Because they invest in their native homeland. And as a result of those investments, their native homeland stands up and speaks out when any of their countrymen are disrespected or mistreated in another person's territory. We don't get the protection because we don't invest. We need political insurance. Just like you got health insurance, you got car insurance, you got life insurance. We need political insurance. Just like you pay your health insurance, your car insurance, we need to also pay our survival insurance by investing in Africa.
And then we also need a Black independent party, which you also have taught us too, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And see, Joe Biden think he's slick, and I know the Congressional Black Caucus been watching my videos.
Everybody's been watching your videos. Let's just say that.
Yeah, and they went to him, and they said, listen here, Mr. President. Dr. Umar, among others, are threatening to change course on the Democratic Party. You have to throw the Negroes in America a bone, or nobody's coming out on November 8th. Because these first 2 years you've been in office, sir, you've done nothing for African people. Your record is almost as worse as Barack Obama's, who did nothing for African people. So you know what Joe Biden does? This guy, he decides to pardon anyone who was charged and or convicted of federal marijuana possession. He signed an executive order the other day to pardon anyone in the United States who has ever been charged or convicted of simple marijuana possession on the federal level. If it's state, it don't matter. If it's county, it don't matter. But here's the trick. Most Black people in jail on federal charges are not there for simple possession of marijuana alone. That might be one charge, but guess what? They have another charge for intent to distribute. They have another charge for guns. They got another charge for cocaine. There's not a single Black person in federal prison right now in America, I'm talking the entire country, who is in federal prison for simple possession of marijuana. They are all there on additional charges. What is the point you're making, Dr. Umar? The point I'm making, good brother, is the only reason why Joe Biden signed that executive order the other day is because he knows it's not going to lead to the release of a single African in America. Let me say it one more time so your listeners can understand me. There's not a single Black person in federal prison for simple possession of marijuana by itself. Yes, in other words, if you have that charge, it's right next to a second charge and a third charge and a fourth charge involving something else. So even though you're being pardoned for the simple possession of marijuana, you're not getting out of prison because, as you know, when the feds get you, they like to hit you with multiple charges. So if one or two don't stick, you still got 3 or 4 charges that will stick. The point that I'm making, no Negroes are getting out of federal prison on Joe Biden's marijuana pardon. But that's the whole purpose. The whole purpose is to make black people think you care long enough for us to show up at the polls on November the 8th. That federal marijuana pardon that Joe Biden signed probably was the weakest move he has made since he's been in office. Nobody's getting out of jail on that damn marijuana pardon. It's nothing more than a scam to convince black people to come out and vote on November the 8th.
Well, but Dr. Johnson, what's so different from Joe Biden from Donald Trump? Donald Trump's done more for black people than Joe Biden has.
Donald Trump signed more federal execution warrants, my brother, death warrants, than any president in American history since slavery. So no Negro can come to me with a Donald Trump flag. Because guess what? At the end of the day, the Republicans hate black people and the Democrats hate black people. See, we have to take responsibility for the Democratic Party plantation's exploitation of the Negro vote, because we're the only people who vote without receiving any promises of concessions. It's absolutely mind-blowing that black people are going to flood the polls on November the 8th. And if you go up to any black person and say, what have you been promised in exchange for your vote? You know what they're going to tell you? I haven't been promised anything, but I have a right to vote, so I'm going to exercise it. Ain't a black person in America can name one thing the Democratic Party going to do for black folks as a result of the November 8th ballot. But guess what?
You haven't had a meeting with them anyway. You haven't.
Absolutely.
You haven't.
We're the only people who will vote having been promised absolutely nothing at all. We're the only people. No other people would dare cast a vote unless they're crystal clear on what they're going to get. And because we vote without having demanded nothing, your vote doesn't even matter. Don't get me wrong. They need it. But it's never going to do anything for you, because the way we exercise our vote is so dysfunctional and irresponsible. If you go to a supermarket and you pay for the food before you put anything in your cart, why would they give you any food? If you already paid for the food, why give you any groceries? That's exactly how voting works. Black people give the Democrats their vote before you even know what's on the menu. And you've been doing this for 89 years. What is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and yet expecting a different result. Black people are where they are because we choose to stay there.
So how can a person like myself change the outcome of what is going on today?
There are no individual solutions. I want to say this again. There are no individual solutions. The black messianic complex that has dominated our community for the past 60, 70, 80 years is dead. There is no leader coming to save us. Not Louis Farrakhan, not Claude Anderson, not Al Sharpton, not Dr. Umar Ifatunde. There is no leader coming to save us. We have to get out of this messianic complex that says we're going to wait for God to send us a savior. That doesn't work. That's for the Bible and the Quran, not real life.
There's
in
only
real
leadership.
life, you need a system of black leadership, not a person. You need a system, a group that guides the destiny of the people, not a Negro with an ego, because I can argue the Negroes with the egos have been some of the biggest stumbling blocks to preventing the progress of our people. We don't need individuals, we need groups. And nobody is above the group. But everybody in the group must be sincerely committed to the liberation of the people. And truth be told, when we look at the Black consciousness community, there are varying levels of commitment. In fact, I would argue that almost none of the guys or gals in the conscious community are really committed. They just like, talking and running their mouths. And information distribution and political gossip. No institutions, no infrastructure, no programs, no systems. All talk. You can't get it done that way. You have to build institutions. Until the Black community starts building its own relevant institutions, we are going nowhere.
I know you just finished saying what you're saying, but a concerned person like myself wants things to change and to change for the better. Because why even put a child in this world not knowing where he or she is going to go in the near future when he or she grows up?
Because
So
every last one of us chooses a destiny in heaven before we incarnate. And we have to come into this world to fulfill that destiny. What if Nat Turner's mother chose not to have him? What if Emperor Jean-Jacques Dessalines' mother chose not to have him? What if Frederick Douglass's mother chose not to have him? What if Ida B. Wells's mother? What if Fannie Lou Hamer's mother? What if Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, Deden Kamathi, and Amilcar Cabral, and Julius Nyerere, and Sekou Touré, and Steve Biko, and Robert Sobukwe? What if their parents chose not to give birth to them? The reason the children must come forth is we don't know what destiny they negotiated with the Almighty in heaven. That very child that you might not want to be born may be the one that helps us solve the equation of Black liberation.
I get angry, Dr. Johnson. I get angry, I get frustrated and enraged when all this is going on, going back to what I stated not too long ago. And the only thing Black males, Negroes, so-called Negroes, I'll call them white boys. That's just me. I'll call them straight Europeans. If you can't tell me who you are, not as we all know you're a human being, but if you can't tell me that, you can't tell me your Africanity, if you can't tell me you're from the Caribbean, if you can't tell me you're from Africa, if you can't tell me you live in the United States but your mom's African and your dad's Nigerian or somewhere, but you hate who you are, and I'm saying, why? And on top of that, you are separating us. You are constantly just pulling us apart, and you're helping white supremacy do it. That's all you're doing, is helping white supremacy do it. So why? What do our children have a future? Do our children even have a future, Dr. Johnson? Do our children even have a future in this world if this keeps going on? And that's why I ask you, I as an individual, and I know you say it doesn't take individual, it takes a group effort. It takes, I know, I honestly know, but Dr. Johnson, this is making me sick. It's making me sick to have to go on live each and every single time and happen to defend our Black women, because again, we need them now more than ever, and they need us more than ever before. So I'm asking you, as a brother, as hell, as a friend, as an associate, as a confidant, and as a person who have been believing in you for so long. What can I do to get people who are in lockstep with me? In other words, they know what I'm talking about. They're with they're getting with the program. So if there's four of us, me including 3 other people, what can we do as a group to get this thing turned around?
Group work makes the dream work.
Yes, sir.
And we have to start moving systematically as a group. We don't get out of this without moving systematically as a group. We have been outdistanced politically and economically by every group in this country. And I would even argue that if we have not been passed up by the Mexicans yet, we will soon be passed up by the Mexicans. And the reason they have outdistanced us so much is because they move as a community. They do not move as a collection of individuals. We are the only people who moves as a collection of individuals. We're the only people who does that. So I know you said, what can one, two, three, or four of you do? And you can do something. But the most important thing that needs to be done is we have to build institutions. It's no way around it. We need institutions and we need systems, systems of employment, systems of community accountability, systems of community protection, a system of transporting our sisters around after it gets dark outside to safeguard them against human sex trafficking. We need systems that deliberately solve problems, and we need institutions that provide for the needs of the people. If we're not talking systems of survival and institutions for the people, then we're not talking solutions. Solutions are institutions and systems, not conversations, not lectures, not trips, not dashikis, not Kwanzaa, not Black history. None of that matters. I'm not saying it's not important. I'm not saying it's not relevant, but I am saying it's not essential. Systems and institutions are how you make a people independent. We don't have any systems. We don't have any institutions. We're waiting around for reparations while we waste $2 billion a year on nonsense. We are in denial, and we are in denial mostly about the role we play in our own demise.
Dr. Johnson, I don't want to keep you for very long because I know you got other lectures that you need to go to.
We good till 45, my brother. We got 30 minutes.
We got 30 minutes? Okay. Well, let me just ask this, because I pretty much asked what I needed. Subscribe for the people what Pan-Africanism is.
Pan-Africanism, which is the Black man's oldest formal religion, not religion, philosophy or political orientation, will be summed up in 4 points. Number one, all African people in the world, all African people in the world are but one family.
Yes, sir.
We are one family. Whether we are in Brazil speaking Portuguese, whether we are in Jamaica speaking Patois, whether we are in Nigeria speaking Yoruba, whether we are in Senegal speaking Wolof, whether we are in Kenya speaking Kikuyu, whether we are in Brooklyn or Philly or LA or Oklahoma or Texas speaking Ebonics, whether we are super light bright skin or super dark chocolate, whether we are Muslim or Christian, whether we got straight hair or nappy hair, whether we believe in Muhammad or Jesus, we are one family. And we don't let nothing come between our family. And we identify as family before we identify as anything else. Being an American will never be more important than being an African. Being a Christian will never be more important than being an African. Being a Kappa or Q will never be more important than being an African. Being a Mason or an Elk is not more important than being an African. Being a Haitian or a Ghanaian or an Eritrean isn't more important than being an African. To be African is a biological, neurological, anthropological, spiritual, cultural, and historical reality shared by all members of the original African family that God placed on the fertile soil of Nile Valley, Africa. We are one, and only through oneness will we survive and save ourselves. So we automatically reject any tribalism. We automatically reject any division whatsoever in the African family, because our enemy is not each other. Our enemy is not each other. That don't mean we can't correct each other. That don't mean we can't call each other out when we do wrong things and engage in anti-African behavior. Yes, we must expose the contradictions, because only through exposing the contradictions can we progress as a people. But we never take our eyes off white supremacy so we can fight with each other, because no African in the world has ever done to me even remotely what the European has done. No African in the world has ever done to me even remotely what a European has done. So that's number one, African family first. Number two, as Africa goes, so goes the rest of us. As you heard me say a minute ago, every non-white group in America invests in their international homeland except us. And that's why we don't have an international homeland to speak up for us, because we rather drop $2 billion in Air Jordans instead of $2 billion in African reconstruction. We rather put $800 million in chicken and pork instead of putting $800 million into Africa's reconstruction. The reason African nations can't speak out for us is we do not put them in a financial position to be able to do away with the exploitative loans that they're forced to get from America, France, Britain, Belgium, and the United Nations. If we want Africa to be free to help us, we got to make Africa be free to help us. So as Africa goes, so goes the rest of us. I would probably state that one of the most ridiculous assumptions of the American Negro is he can progress without the progression of Africa. Do you think European Jews would get the respect they got if Israel wasn't strong? Do you think Arabs would get the respect they get if the Arab nations wasn't strong? Do you think Chinese would get the respect if China wasn't strong? Do you think Indians in India would get the respect they get across the world if India wasn't strong? The reason Black America is so disrespected and despised is because the African continent is so disrespected and despised. You will never achieve liberation. Reparations or not, the American African will never achieve liberation separate from Africa getting hers. That's true for the Caribbean. That's true for Central and South America. That's true for the Australians and the Canadians. No African will get free until Africa is free. Number three, self-determination. Self-determination, African self-reliance. We reject using non-Africans to build or solve any African problem.
That means white folks, y'all.
That include, well, not them, any other group. Any other group, including the building of the Black family. This is why the Snow Bunny crisis must be rejected by all Pan-Africans, because you're getting a white woman to build a Black family. You're going to get a Chinese woman to build a Black family. You're going to get an Arab female to build the Black family. That's integration. That is not self-determination. Black institutions must be built by all Blacks. Black family must be built by all Blacks. We must solve our problems ourselves. We don't hate nobody. We are not bigoted. We do not teach harm or hurt to any other branch of the human family, but we are 100% unapologetically committed to solving African people's problems by ourselves. We don't want no white money. We don't want no white ideas, and we don't want no white participation. It must be RBG or not at all. And the fourth principle I would offer for the sake of time.
Yes, sir.
Is we must have independent African economic and political power. If we reject integration, how can you be a member of the Democratic Party? If we reject integration, how can you be a member of the Republican Party? We believe in self-determination in everything. So how can you be a card-carrying member of a white racist political party and consider yourself to be a Pan-Africanist? It doesn't make any sense. We need Black banks, Black dollar, Black business, Black political union. All things must be baptized in triple blackness. Everything we do must be baptized in triple blackness. Our religion must be triple blackness. Our families must be triple blackness. Our behavior, our thinking, our institutions, our systems, our infrastructure, everything must be baptized in triple blackness until the liberation of African people is your religion. Until the liberation of African people is your religion, you are not serious about African emancipation.
That's what Booker T. Washington believed. That's what Marcus Garvey believed. I believe anybody who was a Pan-African believed what you were saying, Dr. Johnson. But there is the opposite. White lives do matter because everybody matters, Dr. Johnson. Why does it always have to be black this? That sounds like racism to me, Dr. Johnson.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, caring about what other people think about you is anti-African behavior. We are in a state of crisis. We are fighting for our survival as a people. We do not have time to be concerned with what other people think about what we need to do to save ourselves.
Thank you.
Does a runaway slave give a damn about the fact that the slave master lost out on their investment when they purchased them? Absolutely not. Nobody cares what the enemy thinks except black folks. That's because we would much rather be accepted than be free. I want to say this again. Africans in America will never admit it. But as a psychologist, I know it to be true, and can't nobody disprove me. 98% of the American Africans would much rather be accepted and remain a permanent underclass,
right,
than be free and be responsible for your own children's food, clothing, and shelter. We don't want freedom because the other side of freedom is responsibility. The other side of freedom is accountability. The other side of freedom is sacrifice. If you really believe American Africans are serious about freedom, show me the institutions that prove it. Show me the systems that prove it. Show me the infrastructure, the schools, the programs that prove it. We ain't interested in being free. Every time we fight the power structure, it is not to get free of the power structure. It's to be better treated by the power structure. We want sympathy. We don't want freedom.
So what is it that exactly, well, I'm going to ask you, when you do open the school, and he will open the school, I'm just saying that because, of course, I got to be the one that says it, that everybody says that you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that, blah, 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 blah. And I always come here with a straight face saying, what proof do you have? You have none. He's done everything. What have you done? You have done pretty much everything except put a red tape around the school and clip it once everything is intact and in order. So what have you particularly done for yourself and for your community versus what a man like this is doing everything and anything but shouting to the heavens? What are you doing?
Let me say this. I find it rather interesting that my detractors and frenemies tried to reduce my contribution to African history and the liberation struggle to whether or not I opened the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. You are absolutely right, my brother. And we're going to go to midnight. I'm going to take you to midnight, King. 30 more minutes. You are absolutely right that we will open the school. But let me say this. If I never opened the school, there's 5 things that I'm going down in history for. If I never open the school, I am the first psychologist in the history of this country to make sure damn near every Black parent in this country, more than any psychologist ever, understands the education system and how to beat it, the special education system and how to beat it, the psychiatric medication system and how to beat it, the ADHD and disruptive behavior disorder system and how to beat it. I am a household name amongst Black parents and white educators because of the work I've done saving our children. No psychologist has ever influenced the way Black parents raise their children, deal with the mental health system, or deal with the education system like Dr. Umar Ifatunde. I'm going down in history as the most influential Black school psychologist in the history of this country. Undeniable, undisputable. That's number one. Number two, I have raised more Black youth to Black consciousness in the world. Remember, I'm not local, I'm global. Everybody else is local. I'm global.
Yes.
Okay. I speak more out the country than they speak in the country. Nobody has taken more Black youth to consciousness globally than I have. And I would attach to that I'm responsible for influencing more Black women to wear their natural hair than any Black scholar in the history of this country, except for maybe the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. There's not a continent you can go where you don't find Black youth who were woke up to consciousness by me, or Black women who return to their natural hair because of me. That's two. Number three, I have forced Black consciousness and Pan-Africanism into the center of mainstream discussion about the Black reality. No one has forced Black consciousness from the grassroots into the mainstream conversation. I'm the only scholar you know who has ever been on the Breakfast Club, ever, and got 1 million views in less than 24 hours. Nobody else has done that except me. I'm the only one who has ever done it. I am the first scholar to be as popular as an entertainer, and I'm not an entertainer. I'm the first scholar to be as popular as an athlete, and I'm not an athlete. No scholar ever has received the type of reception I get around the world from African people. When white folks see me, they think I'm an athlete. He must be an actor. He must be an athlete, a rapper, or something. Because when I'm on that airplane and every Black person walking on the airplane is stopping and taking pictures, including the Black stewardess, including the Black captain, white folks are like, who is this guy? And they come over to me, are you an athlete? No, I'm not. Are you an entertainer? No, I'm not. No, I'm a doctor of clinical psychology. Wow, well, why does everybody? Because I'm a revolutionary freedom fighter for my people. No freedom fighter in our history gets the reception that I got, not globally. You've never seen it. Now, I have the benefit of social media. And because I have the benefit of social media, I don't compare myself to my great ancestors on whose shoulders I stand, because had Malcolm had social media, had King had social media, had George and Jonathan Jackson had social media, had Fred Hampton had social media, they would be even greater than I am. So I'm not comparing myself to them, but I am comparing myself to my contemporaries. They can't touch this with a 5-foot pole. I have more 1 million view videos than everybody else in the conscious community put together.
And you don't even have a YouTube page.
And I don't even have a YouTube page. I'm the biggest name on YouTube. I don't have a YouTube page. I was the biggest name on TikTok, and I didn't have a TikTok page until last month. If that doesn't show you my influence, I don't even have to self-promote. This interview we doing right now going to be taken and shared 1 million times by the morning.
I'm not really worried about all that. I'm just worried about the
Absolutely
message and
not.
how to
but just
get out.
Speaking to the impact and the influence. Let's go to FDMG.
Yes, sir.
We're not even open yet, and we've already made history. First of all, we're the largest independent Black school campus in the country. We're the only independent school with 2 real schools, not a church, not a basement, not a storefront, not your house. real school buildings. We're the only one with two. We're the largest, and not only that, except for the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. Except for the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, we're the only school in the history of this country, that was purchased, renovated, and operated with donations from African people from all over the world. Every continent has contributed to the FDMG Academy. We get as many donations from continental Africans as we get from American Africans. We get as many donations from Africans in Europe, in Asia, in the Caribbean as we get from American Africans. You've never seen it. Maybe Garvey, but nobody else. Me and Garvey, that's it when it comes to a school that was built by Africans from all over the world. So
but why donations? But why donations, sir? Why donations? Why can't you just go to a bank? Why can't you just go to a bank and get the money from the bank and everything and blah 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 blah? See, well, maybe just maybe he doesn't want to be responsible for white money.
Not only that, that's correct, but let's go deeper, my brother.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I don't need the bank because I'm so loved by my people. I'm so loved by my people that they said, Doc, you don't need the bank. We got you. We got you. Don't you know? I was talking to somebody the other day, right? And they said they didn't know about me. There's people who don't know me. So I remain humble. And they said, you open up a school? I said, yeah. They said, how are you getting the funding? I said, from the people. This the other day. I said, from the people. They said, what do you mean from the people? I said, I asked the Black community worldwide, the African family, to help me raise the money to open up a school to educate Black children. They said, you don't have no corporate sponsors? I said, no. They said, you don't have no government grants? I said, no. You don't have no celebrity backing? I said, no. They said, so how do you think you're going to buy the school? I said, excuse me, we already bought the school. $13 million campus. And we bought it for pennies on the dollar. We already got that. And we're going to be open by the end of the year, beginning of the next year, with all Black money. No white loans, no bank loans, no government grants, no corporate handouts. No other Black school in this country can lay claim to that now or historically, except for Garvey. We in the class all by ourselves.
Let's get the elephant out of the room. Everybody's complaining about taxes. What say you?
Well, first of all, FDMG is a tax-exempt institution.
Okay.
We do owe back taxes for the first 2 years that we operated before we became tax-exempt. So we do have to pay that to Newcastle County. But we pay that as we pay that. We have a payment plan, and we're slowly paying it because we need our funds for other things. We're not up for sale. We're not up for foreclosure. We're not up for share. All these lies that the YouTubians, they said the school was going to auction. They was going to take this. They be making up some stuff, man. It's crazy. You know what's funny? How you going to know more about the school than the man who runs the school? How you going to know more about the school than the man who bought the school? And you know what's so sad? That you got these Black men who sit on YouTube all day salivating over a chance to destroy a project that we need, and I'm the only one building it. That's sad. This ain't for me. This is for our children, and you would destroy it out of jealousy and envy because the people didn't put their trust into you to get this job done. That is absolutely sad. Absolutely sad.
It is. It is. That's why I asked you earlier: do we even deserve? I'm just going to flat out ask you, and I'm going to say it. Do we even deserve your contribution? Do we even deserve? Do we even deserve?
Because we are put here. We are put here to serve. You got to remember, my intervention is on the level of our children. One of the reasons I wanted to be a child psychologist is children can't be held responsible for their ignorance. Only children can't be held responsible for their mistakes. Adults can.
Yes.
You see, so I'm building a school for the babies. I'm not building a school for these YouTubian coons. I don't care what they think. They can. And the biggest problem with them is they hate the fact they don't matter to me. They hate the fact that they got a million videos out there slandering me and I could care less. Because for every detractor I have, I got a million people who support me. There's 2 billion Africans in the world. So 1,000 YouTubians can't stop me. And I'm going to be honest with you.
Yes, sir.
I'm on a divine mission. My mission is divine. That doesn't mean it cannot be sabotaged, but it means it's going to be hard to sabotage it because I don't think the work I do is being done out of my own ego. I think the work that I do is being guided by a higher power. I absolutely believe that. I believed it since I was a child.
Yes, sir.
So my comfort, people say, why do you keep going? What keeps you going? They slandering you. You've been reported to the FBI, the IRS, the Attorney General of Pennsylvania, Attorney General of Delaware, the governor. I don't know who left for them to go to, my brother. I done got letters and investigations from everybody, the Pennsylvania State Board. There's nobody left for these coons to go to and try to sabotage my work. I'm just going to keep on going.
Yes, sir.
Nat Turner, whose revolution began on my birthday, August the 21st, 1831. Nat Turner, in his confessions, and we'll be at Nat Turner Land on November the 11th for anybody who wants to come and celebrate the memory of the greatest Black revolutionary in the Western Hemisphere and the greatest Black army in American history. Will be in Nat Turner Land on November the 11th. It'll be my 11th consecutive year of going to Nat Turner. Go to natturnerlibrary.com and get your tickets. I repeat, natturnerlibrary.com to get your tickets. But in the confessions, Nat Turner says, the Spirit spoke to me, and I'm paraphrasing. He said, the Spirit spoke to me and told me, quote, such is your luck, such you are called to see. And whether it comes rough or smooth, you shall surely bear it. I meditate to that. I chant to that because those words inspire me so much. Because what they basically says is, whether you like it or not, Dr. Umar, your mission is your mission. Your mission is your mission. You might have wanted this to be easier than what it's been building FDMG. It don't matter. It's yours to do. Whether you get sabotaged and vandalized and this and that, it don't matter. You got to do the work. Nat Turner knew he might not live. It didn't matter. It was his job to do. So whether FDMG is successful or not, and I'm pretty certain it will be, it's my job to do. And what the most honorable Marcus Garvey said, he said, even if we don't succeed, we did not fail. Because what you do today, Garvey said, will inspire other people to act at some future time in history. So some people will look at the Garvey Black Star liner, incorporated in Delaware, 1919. We bought FDMG 2019. There's no coincidences. Also in Delaware, people will say the Black Star Line was a failure. No, it was not. The Black Star Line inspired so many other Black people to build their own corporations and businesses and systems around the world. And what Garvey did with those ships has still not been replicated today by any Black leader or organization in this country and in the Western Hemisphere. So Garvey lives through my work. Nat Turner lives through my work. Frederick and Harriet and Fannie Lou Hamer and Anna Juliet Cooper and John Brown Westworm and Mary Ann Shadd and Henrietta Lacks and all of the ancestors who were sacrificed and all of those who died and fought for African liberation. None of their lives are in vain because they inspire me. Emmett Till, Mammy Till Mobley, Gabriel Prosser, Demar Vesey, the soldiers of the Civil War, none of them lost because they lived through me right here, right now. I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for the ancestors because they deserve better.
And you spoke on Emmett Till. I just don't see how a brother would even dare look at a white woman in any other sexual or any other way after what happened to Emmett Till. It, I just see you as a traitor in my eyes. Am I
As a
wrong
man
for
is
thinking
taught,
that?
so is his thoughts. As a man is taught, so is his thoughts. I would likewise see them as traitors. But again, we have to go back to the black community. The black community is responsible for the snow bunny crisis, not just the parents, but the preachers, the politicians, the community-based organizations, and the community itself. We have no code. We have no internal race code that we follow. The
Mm,
only code we got is do what you must to advance yourself. That's the only code black people got. There is no internal racial code for black folks. I'll give you an example. Look at all the gang wars that go on in the black community. The Italians have gang wars, but they have a code.
mm-hmm,
No women, no elders, no children.
mm-hmm. We used to have a code back then, didn't we?
We did, but what happened was the government deliberately killed and arrested the gang leaders from back then, take the leadership away, cut the head off the body, and now all of these gangs have disintegrated into rivaling cliques. You see,
Mm-hmm,
they did that on purpose. You would not have the mass violence you have in the black community if the OGs were still there. And the problem
mm,
now, with the OGs being gone, the everyday black man in the community is scared of these young men. Black men are scared of black boys. Black men are scared of black boys. You cannot tell me we're not afraid of black boys. And we are letting them terrorize the community like they are. They are killing babies. They killing women. They killing elders. And the black man as a system, as a group, as a community, black men have done nothing to push back against the random, senseless violence of our sons. And when I say son, I'm not talking about me because I don't have a son, but I do have sons because all black boys are the sons of all black men.
yes.
All black girls are the daughters of all black women. We have to get back into the we instead of the me, because we are the only community that operates on a me principle instead of a we principle.
Well, I can never turn my back on my community. Never. Even if you're talking about the black on black crime situation or the, you know, the 40, what was it told? The 40% of black people are killing black people, or 40% of black people are killing black people, then 60% belong to with white folks. Either way, I cannot turn my back on my people because number one, again, I have children. I have a daughter who's 11 and I have a son who is 8. And I have a response. No, I said that wrong. We, the father and the mother, have a responsibility to our children. And anybody sees, we need to be an example. We are the examples of what today's parents should, parents and children should be, society should be. I want to see that for everybody. But if you don't want to be, but if you don't want to be the one that brings that message out, and all you're doing is just spewing negativity all day, then we don't need you. We don't
Mm,
need you.
mm,
If you're going to spew negativity, because you do know that everyday life is it's just energy. Every day when we wake up in the morning, that's all we breathe in
mm,
energy. And if you're spewing negative energy out there in the world 24/7, what makes you think you're going to be good for our people down the line? And especially when it comes to our black women. Especially when it comes to our black women. But I can hear my wife and my kids right now as we speak. What is it that you want to say to the people so we can actually close this up? Because I know you got engagements and everything tomorrow, and I wish I was there with you. I wish you are you planning on coming back to Las Vegas anytime soon?
I was invited to come back to Las Vegas, and God willing, I will be there on February the 18th. The Kemet in the Desert program is a program that works to take African children to Kemet to teach them the rich history of the greatest human civilization ever known. And Kemet in the Desert has invited me out to speak to its children and its community. And that will be on February the 18th in Las Vegas. So that will be my next visit.
Okay.
Out to Vegas on the 18th. I want to invite any of your listeners who care to learn how to be an advocate for children. If you care to learn how to be an advocate for children in the education system, special education system, mental health system, behavioral system, please join me in Philadelphia. It is a national invitation. Any Black parent can come. Any college student can come. Any activist or community organizer can come. You don't have to be a parent to come. It's for African people. There will be a Black Parent Know Your School Rights Boot Camp in Philadelphia on Saturday, November the 19th at 2243 Allegheny Avenue. 2243 Allegheny Avenue in Philadelphia. If you need the link to register, text me for the link. You're also welcome to pay by PayPal or Zelle or Cash App. Text me and I will send you the information. Deadline is November 1st. Deadline is November 1st. You cannot register at the door. I need to know how many people are coming so we can have adequate paperwork, adequate training materials, adequate refreshments, and adequate lunch, which will be catered. $100 per attendee. You can come from Texas. You can come from Cali. You can come from Vegas, the Carolinas, Detroit, Milwaukee, Alabama, Arkansas. It doesn't matter. But it's going down Saturday, November the 19th, 2243 West Allegheny Avenue on Saturday, November the 19th. The week before that, we are in Nat Turner Land on November the 11th. And I will be, what else I got coming up? I'm in the Bronx, New York for Kwanzaa, December the 30th. I'm in Baltimore, February the 1st. I'm at Cheney University, HBCU, Cheney University, America's first Black college. I will be there on Saturday, October the 29th for a panel discussion for those who want to come to Cheney University. Please register for my new video on demand platform, www.drumar.tv. It's www.drumar.tv. If you need to reach me, 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858. Text message only, voicemails at 844 Dr. Umar, voicemails at 844 DRUMAR. Email Dr. Umar Johnson at yahoo.com. Send me your resumes if you're interested in volunteering or in being employed at the FDMG Academy. We are getting very close to the finish line. I want to say to all my donors out there, keep us in your prayers. But if all goes well, I think we're going to be making an announcement sometime right after the turn of the new year that's going to shock the world. Shock the world. And I just ask that all my supporters take note of the names and faces of the detractors, because we are still adding people to the book of coons.
Oh, not the
aka
Negroes
the
no more?
Book of Negroes. And that book is getting longer and longer. So when you see these people disrespecting the FDMG brand or mission or founder, take note of their face and their name so we can add them to the Book of Negroes, because they will be banned for life. Remember, it is a school by day, but it is the Black Community Central Organizing Headquarters by night. I'm looking forward to the ex-offender conference, the Black Women's Conference, the Black Man's Conference, the Conscious Singles Convention. I'm looking forward to the Black Farmers Conference, the Black Economics Conference, the Black Comic Book Festival. We're going to be doing everything at this school. We own it. It is ours. Can't nobody put us out. Can't nobody turn off the lights. Can't nobody charge us a whole bunch of money. This is property of the African race entrusted to King Kong Consciousness.
Yes, sir.
Donate $FDMG School on your Cash App. Donate $FDMG School on your Cash App. Donate on your PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. I repeat, FDMG Academy on PayPal, or check or money order your donation to P.O. Box 9634, Wilmington, Delaware. P.O. Box 9634, Wilmington, Delaware 19809. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Dr. Umar Johnson. Follow me on Facebook, Dr. Umar Ifatunde. Follow me on Clubhouse, Prince Ifatunde. And follow me on TikTok, Prince of Pan-Africanism, and we spell Africa with a K.
And not a C. Thank you very much. I want to thank you, Dr. Johnson, for even showing up to a low budget YouTuber like myself. I mean, but I just needed answers. I needed answers, and I believe we all need answers, because at the end of the day, we all that we have left. We can't trust nobody. We can't trust white folks. We can't trust anyone. And I'm not saying you're not the only one with the power and the influence. There are others, but for this moment, this is special. This is very special to me, and it should be special to everybody else. So with that being said, Dr. Johnson, thank you for showing up. Please. Thank you. And
great interview, my brother. Thank you for being professional. Thank you for being thorough. Thank you for being patient. And
yes,
I
sir.
look forward to coming back on your platform in the future. Peace and Pan-Africanism.
Peace, peace, peace. And with that being said, we out.